Hi, I'm Ray Gessner with Chimney Sweeps International, and this is the technical video of chimney codes by state and date. What does that quite mean? Interesting. What are building codes in the first place? Well, here's the deal. A long time ago, the founding fathers said, hey, know what? We're paranoid, and we're going to write up the 10th Amendment. And what the 10th Amendment says is that the federal government's going to try to be king. And so we need to limit the powers of the federal government. And so what they said was, all right, federal government, you can have all the stuff you wanted, take it, but everything else is ours. It's called states' rights. So the federal government says, all right, as long as I get my income tax money, then it's all good with me. And I want to be president, and I want to do some other cool stuff, but anything that we forgot, you can have, states. And then all of a sudden, a few years goes by, and guess what? Who's going to build these buildings? Who's going to regulate the buildings? Who's going to do all that other stuff? No civil engineers in the political department. Guess what? All the building code stuff goes to state rights. So now they're state rights. And now the states are trying to make their building codes, and they're trying to make their houses safe, and they're trying to make their buildings safe, and they're like, man, this is kind of tedious. And so what they do is they went over to England and stole all their stuff, and they kind of developed their building codes and made a building code, and they said, all right, this is our building code that we stole from England. And then, this is my building code. And then New York says, I want your building code. I'm gonna use your building code. Next thing you know, everyone's swapping building codes. And so they're swapping building codes, and then finally, around 1900, the National Fire Protection Association was formed. It was one of the first building codes, and not really a full building code, it's kind of standard, but they were making building codes because the insurance company was tired of paying fire claims, and they're like, man, we got to make these buildings safe. And so National Fire Protection Association had one, the UBC, Uniform Building Code, sprouted out, some other building codes. There were like 3 major building codes in the NFPA, and they're going around doing all their building codes for years. And what they do is that it was typical that they would have a fire, something bad would happen, they'd be like, well, let's fix that, and they'll add that to their building code. And then the other people are like, hey, what you got going over there on that test? Okay, it's like they're kind of cheating on the other test, and they're looking at them, and they're like, that's not a bad building code, I'll take that too. And next thing you know, they're all developing building codes. And about 1989, the National Society of Civil Engineers said, you know what, you guys are silly. Why do you have 3 major building codes, or actually 4 major building codes going around, and you're not just making it one? You should make it one because this guy's got a great idea. Let's say that unparched smoke chambers need to be parched smooth. He goes up and he goes to one building code thing, takes his time, gets up, lobbies it, says, hey, you need to change this. They're like, no, or yeah, one or the other, and that's one. Now he's got to go to the other one. It might be another conference, go across the country, and then another one, and another conference. And it's like, it's just kind of like, man, y'all are doing the same thing over again. What you should do is form them all into one, and we'll call it the International Code Council. It's going to be the International Code Council. It's going to be one great one. And they're like, they aren't going to go for it. And lo and behold, 3 of the 4 major building codes had went for it. National Fire Protection Association said, not so much. We're going to be on our own. Ain't no big deal. We'll still write some good stuff, but we're going to be on our own. So what ends up happening is now they've got this International Code Council, and they got like around 20 building code books. One's the International Residential Code, one's the Fire Code, one's even the Swimming Pool Code, for Plumbing Code, the Mechanical Code, all these different codes. All right. So now you've got this one major code writing place. It's called a model code, but the deal is that they're still not states' rights. It's got to be adopted by the state in order to become law. So what happens is the International Code Council, they're now got 3 of the 4, big ones. They're like, man, our stuff is awesome. You should definitely adopt us. All the states said, we're in with you guys. You guys are awesome, and we're gonna go with you. But the problem is this, voting. They got to adopt it, and usually they'll vote every 2 or 3 years or something like that. And how they'll do it is they'll be like, okay, hear ye, Who wants to vote for allowing this building code into office? All yay say yay and nay say nay. The deal is this. It's some of them might say, I'll do it as long as we can do a little bit of amendments. I don't like the idea of this. I don't like the idea of that. I don't like the idea that chimney sweeps aren't made king. You know, I mean, different parts of the code that should be in there, chimney sweeps should be made king, and the things that aren't. So how they'll do it is sometimes they'll argue so much that it takes them more than one cycle to get it adopted. So in some states, they've adopted the 2015 code. Some states may have adopted the 2018 code. Some states may be really far out back and they're the 2012 code. Maybe that guy's got himself a big project. He might know a senator, you know what I'm saying? You know, he needs some little money going on, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, just get me past this. Let me build my building and we're done. I don't need that. It's going to cost me a fortune. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? I'm kidding. But that's the idea of state building codes. I'm not trying to say that the politicians are corrupt. I'm kidding. You can go to the International Code Council and type in where to find out which states have adopted which codes. And then you can find out to which year your state has currently adopted. But your state has to adopt the code in order it to become law.